Honourable Senators, I rise today to move third reading of Bill S-4, an act to amend the Energy Efficiency Act. I would like to first acknowledge all our colleagues on the Standing Senate Committee on Energy, the Environment and Natural Resources for their diligence in studying this bill. I also thank Senator David Wells as critic and Senator Coyle and others whose amendments and observations have led to a thoughtful report. Le comité a tenu 8 réunions de ce projet.
The committee held 8 meetings on this bill. 5 of these meetings included testimony from the government, industry, NGOs, and Indigenous groups, while the last 3 were devoted to a clause-by-clause review of the bill. I will speak shortly about the amendments that were adopted. First of all, I would like to briefly explain why this work is so important to me. In my previous role at the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority, I worked on initiatives to reduce energy consumption across port operations. In collaboration with partners, we found practical ways to cut consumption, which in turn helped reduce costs for businesses while minimizing the environmental impact. This experience allowed me to see for myself that energy efficiency is not an abstract concept, but that it produces concrete results for businesses, communities, and our environment. These lessons are useful to me in considering this bill. Modern energy efficiency standards are essential to our energy security, to the fight against climate change, and to a stronger and more competitive economy. Colleagues, the bill before us reflects a painstaking effort to modernize a law that has not undergone a major review since 1992. The amendments adopted in committee ensure that the law remains clear, focused, and effective in today's economy.
Let me begin with Clause 2. This amendment may appear technical, but it speaks directly to the purpose of the Act. The amendment clarifies that new types of energy efficiency standards must relate only to energy efficiency or the responsible use of energy. That clarity matters because Bill S-4 introduces new tools that will allow us to go beyond simply measuring how much energy a product uses. They allow us to consider durability, performance, how products interact with the grid, and how they contribute to reducing overall energy demand. With that flexibility must come focus. The amendment ensures that as we evolve our approach, we remain grounded in our core objective of using energy more efficiently and responsibly. It also underscores the flexibility needed to target energy and cost savings directly, while maintaining a clear legislative focus. Colleagues, I want to touch on the committee's discussion about including commercial entities in Bill S-4. Doing so closes a simple but important loophole. Today, companies who import regulated products to sell in Canada must meet energy efficiency standards, while companies bringing them in for their own commercial use don't. This gap has driven up costs for Canadian equipment users as it has created a pathway for underperforming equipment to enter local markets. During committee discussions, important questions were raised on this matter. Would this apply to equipment already in use? Would businesses need to replace what they already own or add new labels? The answer is no. This change only affects new regulated products entering Canada. The committee agreed that the amendments raised were not necessary because the entire Energy Efficiency Act is underpinned by trade and commerce authorities that only kick in at the border and have no bearing on businesses' existing operations. Bringing commercial entities under the Act simply ensures that the same rules apply to everyone importing equipment. It protects Canadians from higher energy costs today, and it gives us a practical tool for the future, especially as we see growing energy demand from large users like data centers.
I would now like to turn to the amendments to sections 18 and 19. Their wording wording is straightforward, but their scope is significant. Broadening the wording by replacing the term emerging energy with renewable or emerging energy in Part 2 of the Act reflects today's reality. Technologies such as wind and solar power are no longer emerging. They are established and reliable sources of energy, and promoting them is an integral part of responsible energy use in the future. And today, to mark the significance of this speech, I am wearing a new tie, adorned with sailing boats and representing renewable energy. This change, not my new tie, but the inclusion of renewables, sends a strong signal. It reflects the reality of the current energy system, in which renewables are no longer an ambition for the future, but a well-established component of Canada's energy mix. At the same time, it leaves the door open. It recognizes that both renewable and non-renewable energy sources are essential to meeting the country's diverse energy needs. The sensible amendments adopted in committee do not alter the direction of the bill. They strengthen it. They clarify its purpose. And they ensure that the Act reflects today's energy systems and those we will build tomorrow. Honourable Senators, beyond the consideration of these amendments, it is worth taking a step back to recall what this bill aims to achieve. The Energy Efficiency Act has been one of Canada's quiet successes, and energy efficiency remains one of the quickest and most cost-effective ways to reduce costs and strengthen our energy system. This is highlighted in an article published on May 7th in Canada's National Observer, which features a petition presented to the House of Commons calling for energy efficiency to be made a national priority. The article highlights that investing in energy efficiency not only increases our national energy sovereignty, but also offers consumers and businesses greater protection against the impact of geopolitical shocks and the resulting rise in energy prices. Furthermore, energy efficiency measures deliver results much more quickly than other major infrastructure projects, which can take years to complete. Moreover, every province and region in our country will benefit from improved energy efficiency. The petition presented to the other place highlights that by improving national energy productivity, energy efficiency measures generate between $4 and $7 of additional GDP for every dollar invested.
It bears reminding that the cheapest unit of energy is the one we don't use. Bill S-4 provides a pathway to do just that. Colleagues, for more than 30 years, the Energy Efficiency Act has set a minimum of energy efficiency standards for products across the economy. These standards have eliminated the least efficient products from the marketplace and helped drive innovation in appliances, equipment, and industrial systems. These results are significant. Since 1995, these regulations delivered more than $110 billion in savings for Canadians. They have resulted in energy savings equivalent to powering every household in Canada, approximately 16 million households, for 4 entire years. Energy savings through this act have also translated into the avoidance of more than 770 megatons of greenhouse gases. This would be the equivalent of taking all passenger vehicles in Canada off the road for an incredible 12 years. But we are no longer living in the world of 1992 when this act was born. Today, Canadians buy products online. Supply chains are global, and technologies are becoming more connected, more intelligent, and more integrated. The current act was not designed for that reality. Without modernization, we will fall behind on affordability, on energy security, and on competitiveness. Bill S-4 addresses that gap. It updates the Act so it can keep pace with today's economy. It ensures that products sold online meet the same standards as those sold in stores, protecting consumers and creating a level playing field for businesses. It enables modern labeling so Canadians can access reliable information whether they shop in person or online. It introduces more flexible tools, allowing new technologies to be tested, assessed, and brought to market more quickly. And it strengthens enforcement so that rules are applied fairly, consistently, and efficiently across the marketplace. Honourable Senators, these are practical changes. They are not theoretical, and they're not controversial. In fact, they respond directly to calls from stakeholders. More than 90 organizations have supported the modernization of this Act, recognizing that it is overdue. In fact, every witness before the committee agreed that modernization was overdue. That includes consumer advocates and energy efficiency experts. They all understand one thing. Energy efficiency is one of the easiest and most cost-effective ways to reduce costs and strengthen our economy. It also plays a critical role in Canada's competitiveness. Modernizing this Act will allow us to reduce energy costs for businesses, which frees up capital for investment and innovation. Ensure Canadian markets are not undercut by inefficient imported products. Use virtual and digital tools to make it easier and cheaper to confirm compliance. And support the electrification of Canada's economy by better managing demand and modernizing our systems, as outlined in the government's national strategy for an electrified Canadian economy. These are not abstract benefits. They translate directly into lower costs, stronger industries, and greater economic resilience. Colleagues, let me be clear about one more point. Passing this legislation does not, in itself, impose new requirements overnight. Many of the changes will require regulations developed through consultation with provinces, territories, and industry, Indigenous partners, and others. That process matters, and it is supported by stronger reporting and accountability going forward. In addition, the amendments to Clause 25 strengthen how we measure and report on progress. One amendment will require reporting that compares selected Canadian energy efficiency standards with those in other jurisdictions, including provinces, the United States, Mexico, and importantly, other relevant partners. This amendment builds on work already underway and presents it in a more visible and accessible manner. It shines a light on how others are approaching these challenges, drawing from lessons learned and proven best practices, and applies them in a Canadian context. It is a practical approach, one that provides transparency to drive ongoing improvements while staying focused and workable in a complex and evolving global marketplace. L'amendement final modifie le calendrier de
The final amendment changes the timetable for the review of the Act, a new requirement that Bill S-4 introduces into the Energy Efficiency Act. This amendment will now ensure that the first review of the Act takes place 5 years after the bill comes into force rather than 10. This new timetable allows the government to respond more quickly to any issues that may arise from the amendments made to the Act by Bill S-4. Honourable Senators, there's no single solution to the challenges facing Canada. Affordability, energy security, competitiveness, and climate change. However, energy efficiency is one of the most concrete and effective tools at our disposal. It reduces costs, it strengthens systems, and it allows us to do more with what we already have. Bill S-4 ensures the effectiveness of this tool, not just for the past, not just for today, but for the future as well. The amendments passed by this House ensure clear, precise, and credible implementation.
We are not starting from scratch with the bill before us. We are building on 3 decades of success. We are improving a proven framework, and we are ensuring it continues to deliver for Canadians in a modern, digital, and increasingly competitive world. So let's move forward with modernizing the Energy Efficiency Act. Doing so will ensure that Canada continues to lead by using energy wisely and by building a stronger economy in the process. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.